It's just absolutely wonderful to see so many faces, although I'm overwhelmed by the size of this room. It maybe feels like we're talking to an amphitheater, and all of the cheer and energy that you bring will fill this up. And as we move from this session into smaller groups during the day, we'll fill up this entire building. Fill it up with some sense of what it is that between us, and by talking with each other and by listening to each other, that we're taking a hard and serious look at what we want our own community future to be, what we want it to become. Our future is in fact arriving by the minute. It arrives each day. And today, as participants in this opening conference of a year-long Missoula Vision 2020 process, we are involved in a unique opportunity, and that's the chance to shape what it is that our community would be. We're not starting from a point of a specific thing today and we want to say, well, how will we change it for 3 years from now? But we're asking you to begin thinking and dreaming a little bit about what you really want it to be at some time far enough in the future that we can actually plan for it and make it happen. This conference today is a conferring, it's a discussing, it's a sharing of ideas and of feelings among us all. We have designed a process which gives us all the power to define where we want to be in 28 years. In a minute, you will hear some insight on where it is that we have come from in the past 28 and more years. And we'll hear what the future looks like to one who will be in charge at that future date. But first, let me tell you briefly how we got to this point today. In Missoula, we're hearing lots and lots about how our community has changed and how it's changing. And we hear endless comments about how we do or don't want it to change in the years to come. And at the same time, more and more people are telling us that they want to have some say in their daily lives. It's not enough just to let someone else have it their way, with the result of us having to live with their decision. And hearing all of this, our city government launched this project, initiated by Mayor Dan Kemmis, with the strong support of Doug Harrison on the council, and then the city council itself in approving support for making this project happen. I was hired then as a conference coordinator. My name is Phil Smith, and we have developed a steering committee of 28 people from all walks of Missoula life who have been involved over the last 2 months in shaping this conference and in designing the rest of the year process which follows the conference today. As you can well guess, no matter how smart we are and no matter how enthused we are, we can't possibly design our future in just a single day. Obviously not. And that's the reason for the year-long process. Throughout the next year, you and hundreds, perhaps thousands of people from throughout the entire Missoula urban area will be involved in the fall and the winter, next spring, in meetings in neighborhoods, neighborhood locations throughout the community to talk further about what it is that we want Missoula to be and how it is that we want to get there. You all have a conference packet. In your packets, the backside of the pink page is a brief summary of that one-year process. And from that you can readily see today is step one, the opening conference. Approximately a year from now, we would expect that we would have another conference to begin the implementation process, to begin defining what are those first actual steps that we need to take in order to move toward the vision. As we look to this fall and begin defining more carefully what it is we want our future to be, next winter and spring, as we begin defining strategies to get us there, we'll be setting targets on exactly what we want that future to look like. And in this case, we is not me, we is all of us, the community. We isn't local government, we is all of us, the community, in this community involvement process. In our community life, this is truly an exciting milestone. We are in control of our own future. To set the stage for the rest of the day today, we're going to hear a bit about progress from a woman who has been in Missoula for 40 years She has been involved in citizen activities of all sorts, and she is a true believer from her own experience in the idea that citizens can, in fact, make it happen. Following Tommy Lou Warden, we will have a person who has just graduated from Sentinel High School. She's been involved as well in a number of activities, and she will be sharing some thoughts with you on what we look at the future and how we look at the future. After that, we'll be working. We'll be in small groups, reporting back to this session and into small groups during the course of the day. Before we get into those, however, let's warmly welcome Tommy Lou Warden, and then after her, Ann Moran. Tommy Lou.
Thank you, Phil. They say that hindsight gives you 20/20 vision. Well, maybe. At least that's why I'm here today. Before starting on any review of our accomplishments and disappointments we Missoulians have enjoyed and suffered, it would seem appropriate to spend a moment on our loss of this past week as we all said farewell to a wonderful landmark, the Greeno Mansion, who upon her throne gave us a sense of past, but a use for today and an inspiration for tomorrow. The Greeno Mansion, a home representative of the graciousness, culture, and gentleness of the West, through a madcap idea of a dreamer, or as to use today's vernacular, a mover and shaker, against horrendous odds, public criticism, gave 2 more generations an opportunity to revisit the past. So it is with a fond farewell that we move to the future today. Well, here we are, young and old, short, tall, thin, fat, Native Americans, descendants of the daughters of the American Revolution, and as many other diverse backgrounds and combinations as you can think of, gathered today to remember the past and try and plot a course for the future. Indeed, an American tradition, a town meeting, as it were, and in spite of our differences, we're bound together by a mutual love for our valley. Our diversity is not confined entirely to people, but also to purpose. The questions we must search our souls for are whether we can maintain the best of the past, which we love, and yet maintain not only a quality of living, but a standard of living for ourselves and for our children. Vision 2020, Missoula, is our conference title, selected as a time frame of reference and projection. In 1964, it was 28 years ago, and 28 years hence will be the year 2020. In trying to encapsulate the past 28 years for you, I found the task impossible. Where did the past begin and end, and where does the future start? A number of years ago, an excellent speaker tried to relate to laypersons the historical aspects of the space program, beginning with Galileo. He referred to a book with the title something like On the Shoulders of Giants. And he traced our progress in space to the very beginnings of the heavenly observations. The past is composed of coalitions and dreams. Our past from the beginning was of economic purpose, the establishment of a trading post that would serve 5 great valleys. The dreams which encompass those men on this rugged western frontier have remained. The well-planned ones are the dreams we hail. The accidental ones with beauty and grace are the realities we try to save and protect. And the planned ones are the dreams that we must build on. Thank you to the giants of yesteryear. We're grateful for the Rose Garden, the riverfront, the library, the museums, and the founding father who sent back home to his native Vermont for the beautiful maples we are still enjoying on many of our Missoula streets. For whatever reason, accidental or not, thank you for the magnificent view of Mount Lolo as we drive down Brook Street. Established as a cow trail because it was the shortest distance from the Bitterroot to the Missoula Mills. Thank you for the hundreds of citizens who before us have spent the time and effort to try and establish reasonable planning to preserve and protect all we love about our valley. It has been said that experience is knowing a lot of things you shouldn't do. In the 1960s, we had just emerged from a 5-year trial of a city manager form of government in Missoula. After leaving the commission for the governing, after leaving the commission type of government in 1954. It was in 59 we adopted the aldermatic system after a heated campaign to combine city and county government. It was also in the 1950s that the original plans for McCormick Park were developed, and not until 1980 that these plans were totally in place. After years of study during the late 40s and throughout the 50s, plans to try and eliminate air pollution and concerns over our water pollution were rampant in our valley. But it was not until 1969 did we have a statewide air pollution law to help us deal with the problems. And today we continue to work on water safety and water pollution issues. Zoning in Missoula was limited to 4 zoning districts 40 years ago. With the end of the Great War and the return of veterans, home financing, primarily through the VA, made zoning an important factor. Today, in the 1990s, we have 30 zones and are trying to simplify the procedure with a rezoning package. The Planning Board was established in the mid-1950s, a citizen board to try, envision, and realistically protect the very things that we love about our valley. In 1970, there was a culmination nationally of the changing ways of the world and of America. Assassinations, Watergates, Vietnam, Jonestown, and terrorism. Missoula had not been idle during the 70s. The Southgate Mall opened, which created further commercial and residential development to the south. The 1980s brought hope on the home front to America and to Missoula. The Vietnam War had ended, and we, the people, gained an understanding of war that we had never held before due to the advanced techniques of communications. In Missoula, our downtown rejuvenated itself in the 1980s. It had a facelift due to the establishment of the Missoula Redevelopment Agency and the need to reestablish an urban city center. A small committee from the Museum of the Arts had a dream in the mid-70s, a dream of a usable riverfront, a continuing dream. A citizens committee, much like the steering committee of 2020, established a group called City Spirit, which inspired and got us moving on the beautiful riverfront development with the assistance of a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts. Only through several years of dreams and citizen commitment can we now enjoy and see the results. A citizen extraordinary, John Toole, dreamed of just such riverfront, even before the river channel was moved from the Wilma building to create our beautiful Caras Park. Think of Jacobs Island and the Kim Williams Trail, all developed on the shoulder of giants, giants with vision. In the past 28 years, we have built 3 new hospitals and ranked nationally in health care. Our university has hit an all-time high enrollment to be curtailed for lack of funding. We have gone to middle schools and see additional private schools available each year. We have wonderful athletic facilities, recreational retreats, and magnificent opportunities. It has been a bittersweet to review the past, to realize that we are working on our 3rd urban comprehensive plan since 1965. But we have, and there are several conclusions that I would like to share with you, my friends and neighbors. In a world of instant communication, when we can go to weddings, and wars from our living room rocking chairs and speak to our loved ones around the world in a matter of moments and tap our feet impatiently when a fax machine has to be redialed because the line is busy. Even with planning, not many of these changes that have been made in 28 years have been done in less than 10 years and usually in 20. So we're going to give you an 8-year leeway today. A second observation is that all of the changes, or the lack of changes, are directly related to the amount of interest and citizen participation that is generated and that is held. And unless we have an obsessed citizenry, things don't work. Ideas are funny things. They don't work unless you do them. And we've come a long way since 1964. And today, ask you to stand on the shoulder of our giants who dreamed of a planned and protected environment with fresh air, clean water, trees, sky, and mountains, and a time and an income to enjoy our valley.
Will Missoula continue to hold on to the precious aspects that it maintains today? Will there still be wilderness areas within 15 minutes of the center of downtown? Will we continue to have drinking water that is safe and clean? What will our air quality be? Will we still be a low-crime city, or will it be a risk of one's life to walk along the Clark Fork alone? Where will we stand on national ratings concerning education and our economics? Will we be able to provide financially for such a large number of people? Is Missoula a place that you want to live in the year 2020? As we look ahead to the future, we are forced to face several of the questions I have just listed. But not only must we ask these questions, but we also must be able to come together and work to help form answers to these questions and create a future for Missoula that we can be happy and proud of. In the year 2020, my generation will be the business owners, educators, and officials of this city. In order for us to keep Missoula the great place that it is today, and to improve Missoula in a few areas, we must get involved and start acting now. Missoula's present officials, political leaders, and decision makers do not always share the same opinions concerning Missoula as everyone. One citizen may wish for a skate park, while others may focus all of their interests on conserving the beauty of the upper rattlesnake and wildlife population. Missoula is blessed with a large diversity of interests and alternatives, but in order to make Missoula what you want it to be in the year 2020, and to keep it a community of several opportunities, you, as a citizen of Missoula, must take action now and work to create the future that you can look forward to being a part of. Unless we get involved as citizens, then it is hard to say what Missoula will turn out to be. The Clark Fork will not become cleaner by merely sitting by and watching it. Entertainment alternatives will not grow unless someone provides that entertainment. In order to see results, we must first have a stronger sense of community and a larger scale of voluntary citizenship and effort. I hear several people my age complaining about what Missoula is. However, I do not see a lot of them out taking part in activities to improve and better our community. I also hear a lot of adults complaining about what Missoula has become. Again, I do not see a lot of these individuals getting involved in planning and improving activities. Unless we get involved today and work for the future, then we will not have the right to complain in the year 2020 if Missoula is not what we want it to be. Oftentimes, a community is only given one chance to make a beneficial difference for its future. You cannot simply climb aboard a time machine and zip back 10 years and change what Missoula will become. Progress takes a large amount of time, and therefore, transitions must be embarked upon several years in advance. The world is quickly changing with its advancements in technology, relations, and incredible growth rates. Whether it is changing for the better or the worse, Missoula is changing right along with the rest of it. We have the choice to sit back and watch Missoula take its own route, or we have the power to get involved and give Missoula a positive, promising future. I challenge each and every one of you to go through the conference today to help answer the 3 questions that we are asking. What is important to you about Missoula? What concerns you about Missoula now and for the future? And what are your hopes and dreams for Missoula? As you break into your small groups and discuss these questions, look ahead to what the future holds for you. Whether you plan on being here in 28 years or not, think about your children, grandchildren, neighbors, and your community. For it is these people who will be forced to face what Missoula's future holds. The only one with the power to influence Missoula's future is you, the citizen. So go out and start building the future of Missoula today. Find an area of your interest that you can make a difference in and take action. Missoula is your city, and it is your responsibility to provide for it. Remember, by taking action now, you have the power to keep Missoula the beautiful place that it is today. Thank you.
And feel that we can each be heard and that one voice of one citizen makes a difference. Also, the safety and the other benefits that go along with living in a small town like Missoula. The affordability of living in a small town like Missoula, which encompasses a lot of things. The recreational opportunities that we have here and the arts and cultural events that we have here, and the almost spontaneous access that we have to each of these events. The improvement of the environmental concerns that we have here, as well as the ethnic diversity that we have here in Missoula. And those were all the values that we have from Group 1. Thank you.
With Group 2. I would say probably the value that was mentioned most frequently in Group 2 is the term scale is what was used most frequently. And that seemed to tie into a lot of other values. But the scale of Missoula and its ability to participate in any number of things because of its scale.
We generally felt that the love of the outdoors and the respect for the environment, desire for having the environment that close drew people here, but the community, the sense of community and the people here were what made it so welcoming and so warm and what people valued. Words like caring, acceptance, tolerance, attitude, commitment, respect for ordinary ambitions and ordinary people. Just that sense of community. The ability to say hello to people on the street. Small enough for the individual to make a difference, to play a part. The caring in volunteer groups, the amount of volunteer groups, the willingness of people to share, to give what they do, the willingness of people to make sacrifices to be here and to stay here. Most people are making a lot less than they could somewhere else, and it's worth it to them.
People seem to value the town of Missoula, and what they valued about the town was the low crime rate. It's very safe. People don't have to lock their doors all the time. They value their privacy, the ability to be able to go off and have their private space, that comfortable feeling that comes with the town of Missoula, and the accessibility of being able to be involved in the community.
The access to politicians, being able to express your views in a first-hand way, like out to lunch or something if you run into somebody down there. And also, two things I might add that Missoula might not necessarily have, but that we valued anyways, was being able to work for dignified living wages and access to health care.
The group wanted to preserve the university and school systems in Missoula, and the group also felt strongly that we need to recognize that development will occur and to control the growth in open spaces as it does occur, and to direct the growth in a rational way.
We value our place in history, and we value the people.
We discussed the historic beauty of our city and the fact that we have so many century-old buildings, and it'd be a shame just to watch them be destroyed. We also noticed that there is that cultural diversity, and we owe that to the U of M, I think. And as far as the small-town spirit of the town, a lot of that is due to the locally owned and operated businesses that we have here, and the fact that we're just, the city itself isn't a franchise.
Missoula is relatively nuclear-free, which can't be said for a lot of larger cities in other places, particularly towards the East Coast. So we really have that on our side.
Missoula, we accept individuals for what they are. Doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or you're a street person. People tend to accept people for what they are and do not discriminate against each other.
Easy access from Missoula.
Elbow room, independence from automobiles, alternative modes of transportation.
The cultural aspects of Missoula are far-reaching and makes it one of the highest-rated places for retirement in the nation. Missoula cares. Missoula cares. You look at the fundraising efforts that go on, and they increase every year. It's, someone on our committee mentioned, it's a microcosm of a big city. We've got everything that you have in a big city, and without all of the problems, at least not as large.
Our group mentioned frequently that there's something for everybody in Missoula, and that ties into our diversity. And it was not only a diversity of populace, which we have certainly, but a diversity of opportunity and a diversity of just choices that we can make. The other thing that we talked about, we did talk about the size of Missoula and what an important feature that is, but we talked about it in terms of critical mass rather than saying it's because it's small that we have this all of this wonderful stuff that we've just been talking about, that we have a critical mass here, that it's not too small and it's not too large, and although we don't know yet what the limits of that critical mass are, when we will exceed them, that we need to focus on the idea that we do need a certain critical mass in order to sustain the quality of life that we want and have here.
Encourage any sort of growth, to instead work for conversion toward a more sustainable economy, and to try to think of Missoula as, rather than a refuge, an example for the rest of the world to emulate, so that they make their communities more livable and desirable, so that they don't have to move to Missoula to be happy.
A few items here that maybe weren't mentioned. I'll have to sift through these, but one was a respect for others' dignity in the community, especially those people that you don't even know. Another is low-density housing, and we don't want some of you to misinterpret the fact that that does not mean going from 6 multi-housing units on a small lot down to 3. Nonprofit social agencies. We feel that Missoula has a lot of heart and a lot of people contributing their time and efforts. Another thing that's important is the participation of youth that doesn't often get recognized in the community. The slower pace of living, which we do not want to see disappear from here. And a final note, a pitch for all of you bicyclists out there who have your transportation locked to the bike racks. Those 10-minute drives here in Missoula a lot of times are 5-minute bicycle rides.
Well, one of the things that we valued in our group was that Missoula has been an inexpensive place to live. It's a place where there are opportunities even for people who have modest incomes, and we have liked that. We wanted to preserve the natural environment, the green spaces, the wilderness. We like the access to the wildernesses and the green spaces, and also the access via public transportation and bicycles. We like the fact that Missoula is still relatively crime-free. We appreciate the presence of the university and the educated people that it brings into the community. And finally, we think that we appreciate the number of dedicated people in this community, the fact that there are avenues and opportunities to meet the social needs and concerns in this community, the fact that there is an opportunity to accept and integrate the needs of the minority and disabled, the fact that there is potential in this community for less discrimination against Native Americans.
The Wildlife Film Festival, the Hellgate Riders, and the Choral Festival.
We're concerned about the aquifer, water quality, air quality, and preservation of open space and how we preserve those things while we grow. We're concerned about the Native American people and that they have been forgotten by our society and in this community. We were concerned about how to deal with pedestrians and too much traffic as we grow. And a woman in our group said it doesn't take 10 minutes to get across town, it takes 25. So we were concerned about quality employment and job opportunities and the fact that our economy is changing. We were concerned about safer recreational activities for our youth and children. We were concerned about our morals, devaluation of our morals as we grow and become larger, and maintaining a quality spiritual environment in the community. We were concerned about economic prosperity and growth versus lifestyle issues. We were concerned about becoming mostly a welfare or retirement community without a vital economic base. We were concerned about solid waste disposal and the finite limits of our landfill. And we were concerned about proper management of growth and planning. And then finally, we were concerned about funding for implementing the planning and development ideas that we come up with in this conference.
Our group was very concerned, number one, about unmanaged, unplanned, unorganized growth. We were very concerned about air and water pollution, infrastructure. We need to make sure that systems are in place to handle the increased waste, increased traffic prior to development. That's why we can avoid the retroactive reaction and the extreme costs involved. The tax base, how will we pay for the infrastructure? Who will pay? Willingness versus ability to pay. Other minor concerns, but not to be forgotten. Balanced growth, how to obtain a consensus out of such diversity. Continued citizen involvement, maintaining our quality of life, housing costs, affordability, maintaining open spaces, wildlife habitat. Religious community should not be forgotten and needs to be recognized for its contribution. Change for the future, we believe that the change must be planned and organized, that we need leadership with the ability to find the consensus in the community and to lead us into the future. People must remain involved and willing to change, must use caution in allowing growth of industry which will further pollute the Missoula Valley. We need better voter turnout, enforcement of junk ordinance. The alternative transportation needs to be encouraged, like bikes, bus, walkways, bridges. The legislature needs to change the certificate of survey process to allow more regulation and control by county officials of the sale of large plots of property. Why would we leave? Number one reason, an increase in pollution, either air or water. Cost of living, to include taxes, increases beyond our ability to pay, particularly for the retired folks in the community. Lack of well-paying jobs, or a change in state and local laws which would drastically change our quality.
Our main concerns in Group 3 were the unrestricted growth, the increased traffic, population density, so on and so forth. Small town values are being threatened and pushed to the wayside. There is a cultural diversity, but we, the white people, I guess, as what our main concern was, are kind of self-congratulatory, saying that we're so culturally diverse, yet we don't take the time to talk to these people.
Unchecked growth and how this urban sprawl has led to a less energy efficient way of life and a decentralization of our community. And there's not enough public education as to the detrimental effects of these little ranchettes that we're developing or having on the land. For example, the loss of wildlife habitat and also the increase in air pollution from the commuter traffic.
And our concern was the lack of planning and preparation for that growth.
Some of the specific concepts were the idea that the infrastructure such as sewers and roads are not planned, and then we have problems that we have to go back and retrofit. And one of the examples that was brought up was the sewer situation in the Wapakia area, that it's more expensive to go back and fix those problems later on. We also expressed concerns about urban sprawl and building everywhere, and a concern for aesthetics, that the new building be built to fit in with the environment and in with the other structures in that environment. We also expressed a concern for losing those qualities that led many of us to choose Missoula as a home, or lead many of us to continue to stay here in Missoula. But we also recognize that we must continue to allow others to come here, and we talked about the concept of a gate as opposed to a fencing of people out, but a gate that would involve us as a community making a decision about what the criteria were that we wanted for our own futures and for our own growth.
Building new schools and having them at capacity the day that they open. How do we encourage the willingness of taking the responsibility to undertake the education of the sacrifices to maintain the quality of life that we all want here?
The concern was that very often we have a plan, but it's hard to actually adhere to it and implement it accurately.
We're concerned about developing a diverse economic base, one that is not based on extractive industries, but rather based on information and service industries.
There was concern expressed about the lack of accessibility in Missoula for people with disabilities, and I'll let you guess who that was. There was a concern that as we progress toward growth, that we will engage in more of a kind of crisis thinking and devaluation in the sort of democratic process that Missoula is pretty famous for in the state, the process of participation, and that we should encourage more of that participatory process rather than letting it erode over time. There was concern expressed that we shouldn't be marketing Missoula so much because it will invite the kind of growth that will cause the kinds of problems that we've been discussing today. And one individual suggested that it's better for people to find Missoula rather than be sold Missoula.
And that single cars are relied on too much in Missoula, and we believe that this is because of a lack of planning, such as the subdivisions, and so many people cannot reach the bus systems easily, therefore they don't use the buses. Another concern was that we may face unmanageable population growth in the future. Also, we were concerned about what our environment will become concerning the air and the water. We were also focusing on the crime rates and the fact that we have insufficient police protection today, and therefore it'll only get worse in the future unless we do something now. The number of unemployed people in Missoula concerned us, and more so the number of transients who have made a lifestyle out of being jobless and simply living off the community. We saw a lack of community interest and a need for greater community involvement, and also a lack of youth involvement and a lack of ethnic involvement and diversity, especially with the Asians and Native Americans. We would like to see more involvement of those from those people. And also the education means, and we think that Missoula needs to keep up with the rest of the world in their progressive education steps.
There was a real concern that inequities may occur relative to rich versus poor and those kinds of disparities. In addition to that, the group was concerned about this process actually working. Will it